When your Windows PC refuses to boot, shows a blue screen, or gets stuck in an endless repair loop, the first thing most people feel is panic. Not because the operating system failed, but because of the data trapped inside. Family photos, work documents, years of digital life. In 2026, storage drives are larger than ever, but the fear is the same. Did I just lose everything? In this video, I'm going to show you how to save your data like a pro using Linux to rescue dead Windows drives. No expensive recovery software, no sketchy tools, no risky repair attempts. Just a clean, safe, professional workflow. Most dead Windows installations are not actually dead drives. There's a huge difference between a corrupted operating system and a physically failing disk. If your computer powers on and the drive appears in BIOS, there's a high chance your data is still intact on an NTFS partition. The trick is accessing them without booting into the damaged Windows environment. And that's where Linux becomes your best friend. Linux isn't just an alternative OS. It's one of the most powerful rescue tools ever created. Modern Linux distributions can boot entirely from a USB drive without touching your internal disk. It's like bringing your own operating system to the party. Before we plug in a USB, let's talk about the mindset. Rule number 1. Do not write anything to the failing drive unless absolutely necessary. No reinstall attempts, no reset this PC. Every write operation on a potentially unstable disk increases risk. Extract data first, fix later. Now, let's prepare properly. You'll need a working computer and a USB drive, ideally 8 GB or larger. Download a Linux distribution ISO file. Linux Mint, Ubuntu, or Fedora Workstation are excellent choices for beginners. Once you download the ISO, you'll need to create a bootable USB. Tools like Rufus or Bayonetcher make this simple. Make sure you're selecting the correct USB drive because this process will erase it completely. When it finishes, you have a portable rescue environment. Take that USB to your dead Windows machine. Insert it, power the system on, and access the boot menu. Select your USB device and boot into Linux. You'll see an option like Try Linux without installing. That's exactly what you want. Within a minute or two, you'll be inside a full Linux desktop environment. Don't let it intimidate you. On the desktop or file manager sidebar, you'll likely see your internal drives automatically listed. Linux has excellent support for NTFS. Click on the drive. If everything goes well, it mounts instantly, and you'll see familiar folders like Users, Program Files, Windows. Now navigate to Users, then into your username folder. This is where your personal data lives. Documents, desktop, downloads, pictures, videos. At this point, you've already won. You can see your data. It's not gone. It's just trapped behind a broken Windows installation. But seeing it is only half the battle. Now you need to copy it somewhere safe. This is where you connect an external drive. Linux will detect it automatically. Open it in the file manager. Create a new folder like Windows Rescue Backup and begin copying. Copy, don't move. Never move files off a failing disk. Copying leaves the original intact in case something interrupts the transfer. Drag and drop your documents, pictures, videos, and anything else important. Be patient. This can take minutes or hours. If the drive is physically failing, you might hear clicking sounds or experience slow reads. Prioritize the most important files first. What if the drive doesn't mount automatically? Sometimes Windows leaves the NTFS partition in a hibernated or fast startup state. Usually you can mount it read-only, which is perfect for rescue purposes. Most modern distributions handle this gracefully. If the drive truly refuses to mount, that might indicate file system corruption. A tool like NTFS in Linux can sometimes repair minor inconsistencies. However, remember the golden rule: minimize writes. If you suspect physical damage, consider cloning the drive first using Rescue. Let's pause and talk about encryption. If your Windows drive was protected with BitLocker, things change slightly. You will need your recovery key to unlock the drive. Without it, even Linux cannot access the data. Now imagine another scenario. The system doesn't boot at all. No display, no BIOS, nothing. The problem may be the motherboard or power supply. The solution, then, is to remove the drive physically. Connect it to another working computer using a USB to SATA adapter or NVMe enclosure. Then repeat the same Linux rescue process from the working machine. Linux doesn't care that the drive came from another system. What about drives that are making loud clicking noises or disappearing randomly? That suggests hardware failure. Time is critical. Your goal should be to copy the most important data immediately. If the drive stops responding, you may need specialized recovery services. This is why regular backups are always better than emergency rescues. But when you don't have a backup, Linux is your best first attempt. Let's talk about verifying your backup. Professionals never assume a copy succeeded perfectly. After copying, open some of the files from the external drive. Make sure they're not corrupted. Check file sizes and counts. Once you're confident everything important is safely backed up, then and only then should you consider reinstalling Windows or replacing the failing drive. At this point, you've completed the rescue. But saving data like a pro isn't just about copying files. It's about understanding why this works. Linux can read NTFS because of mature open-source drivers developed over decades. NTFS support in Linux is extremely stable. Windows recovery mode sometimes locks you out or demands admin passwords. Linux doesn't care about Windows account passwords. This bypass is perfectly legitimate. You're accessing your own drive from a different operating system. Your data isn't tied to Windows. Now let's shift into preventive strategy. After one data scare, most people promise themselves they'll start backing up. But professionals automate it. The 3-2-1 backup rule is still gold standard in 2026. 3 copies of your data, 2 different storage types, 1 off-site copy. If you follow this rule, a dead Windows installation becomes an inconvenience, not a disaster. You can even use Linux itself as a dedicated backup system. Yeah, many people. Repurpose old PCs into Linux backup servers. Let's address one more advanced situation: ransomware. If Windows is locked by ransomware but the drive isn't encrypted at the file system level, Linux can sometimes allow you to extract unaffected files. However, modern ransomware usually encrypts user files directly. In that case, recovery depends on backups, not operating systems. Again, prevention beats rescue. Linux is not magic. It's a tool. It's a powerful, flexible, independent tool that operates outside the broken Windows environment. It doesn't rely on Windows bootloaders, registry integrity, or system restore points. It simply reads the disk. Before we wrap this up, let me summarize the professional rescue workflow in narrative form so you can internalize it. System fails, stop, do not reinstall, do not reset, create Linux USB, boot into live environment, mount internal drive, connect external storage, copy important data first, verify backup, and repair or replace system.com/controlled methodical /. In 2026, NVMe drives are incredibly fast but still vulnerable. SSDs don't click, but they can fail silently. Operating systems grow more complex with encryption and secure boot, but the fundamental principle remains unchanged. Your files are just data on a disk. If you take only one lesson from this guide, let it be this: the moment Windows stops booting, your priority shifts from fixing the computer to saving the data. Linux gives you the independence to do exactly that. It turns what feels like a catastrophe into a manageable technical task. And once you've successfully rescued your files using Linux, something interesting often happens. Many people realize how capable and stable Linux feels. Some even decide to install it permanently, not because Windows failed, but because Linux proved itself when it mattered most. That's how you save your data like a pro in 2026, calmly, safely, methodically using Linux not as a replacement, but as a rescue lifeline when Windows lets you down.